Today we will be making just a simple bucket hat. For this project, I'm going to be using a 5mm hook, a yarn needle, and some white acrylic yarn. The first thing we're going to do is make a magic ring or circle. So grab your tail end and hold it at the bottom of your hand. Leave a few inches so you can weave it in nicely. Grab the top, wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X, and then use your hook to go under and over and pull through, and then use your 2 fingers to grab the loop and remove your fingers, and then we're going to chain to chain, yarn over, and pull through. Again, yarn over and then pull through. And then we're going to do 10 double crochets into the center of this ring. And to double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the center of that ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through just 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through your last 2 loops. And then you can tighten the ring by pulling on the tail end so it's easier to work with. And again, to double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through just 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through your last 2. So we're going to do this 8 more times until we have a total of 10 double crochets. And now that we're done with our 10 double crochets, we can pull on the tail end and close up this little hole. So we'll just pull it really tight, and later on we'll have to tie it into a knot so it doesn't come loose again. And now we're going to do a slip stitch into our very first double crochet. So just look for the post of our very first double crochet. Make sure you skip the chain 2 that we did. And to the right of the post, we're going to go under the 2 loops that make the V at the top. And then we're going to yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook. And this is a slip stitch. And we're going to end every round with a slip stitch, and we are also going to start every round with a chain 2. So for round 2, we're going to chain 2, and this round we're going to be doing an increase in every single stitch. So an increase is just 2 double crochets into 1 stitch. And our first stitch is going to be that same stitch that we slip stitched into. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that same stitch, and then we'll complete our double crochet. And since we're doing an increase in every stitch, we're going to do 1 more double crochet into that same stitch. Now we're going to move on to the next stitch. And remember to keep going under both loops that make the V. And we'll do an increase into every single stitch. So here we've done 1, and we're going to do another one into that same stitch. And we'll do this all the way around, and we should have 20 stitches by the end of this round. Now that we've done our 20 double crochets for round 2, we can slip stitch and start round 3 with 2 chains. And for round 3, we're going to do an increase in every second stitch. So in the first stitch, we're going to do 1 double crochet, and then we'll increase in the second stitch. And then we'll continue this pattern of doing an increase in every second stitch all the way around. And for every round that we do increases in, we're always going to end the round with an increase. So for the very last stitch, make sure that it ends on an increase. Otherwise, it means that you may have counted your stitches wrong. And by the end of this round, you should have a total of 30 stitches. So we're increasing every round by 10. The first round had 10, second has 20, and the third has 30. And for round 4, we're going to be increasing in every third stitch. So last round we did every second, this one we're going to do every third, and the next one we're going to do every fourth. So fourth round in every third stitch. So just subtract 1 from the round number, and that's the stitch that you'll be increasing in. So we're just going to do 2 double crochets, and then in the third stitch we're doing 2 double crochets into that same stitch. But if you do not want to have to count, then here's a little trick that you can do to know where to increase. So if you look on your previous round, you can find the increase, and in this stitch right between those 2 double crochets of the increase from last round, that is where your increase for this round will be. And you can see it here, and so you know that that is where we're going to increase. So we'll just double crochet until we find the increase from last round, and here it is. So in between these 2 double crochets in that stitch, I'm going to do an increase, and this should increase it all the way around evenly so that we have 10 increases per round. And if you go back and count it, it should line up with every third stitch. And we're just going to be increasing in this way until this circle becomes the circumference of our head. And I've found that 7 total rounds would be about a small, 8 total rounds would be a medium, and then 9 would be a large. And I'm just going to be doing a medium. So 5th round I'm going to increase in every 4th stitch, and then 6th every 5th stitch. For the 7th round every 6th stitch, 8th round every 7th. And I've just finished my 8 rounds of increasing, and now we're going to stop increasing and just do 1 double crochet into every single stitch all the way around for the next few rounds. So again, these next few rounds are going to be just 1 double crochet into every stitch, but this first round is going to be a little bit different. So we'll chain 2, and then when we double crochet, we're going to go into the back loops only. So if you look from the top, there are 2 lines that form a V. We're going to go in between them and only go under the back loops when we do our double crochets. And again, this round has no increases. We're just doing 1 double crochet into every stitch in the back loops only. And you can see that crocheting in the back loops only forms a sort of fold. So this is the top of the hat where it bends down. And now we're just going to be crocheting the portion that is between the brim and the top of the hat. And it was just for this first round that we're going under the back loops only. For the next few rounds, we are going to be going under both loops. And we're going to do just a few rows until we reach the length that we want. And in my case, I did 6 more rounds for a total of 7 between the top of the hat and the start of the brim. You can make this shorter or longer if you want. So I've done 7 total rounds between the top of the hat and the start of the brim, and you can see that it forms this sort of fold, and we're going to be doing a similar thing for the brim. For the first round for the brim, we're going to be working in the front loops only. So we're going to be folding it a different direction, sort of pop out instead of going in. So we're going to be going into the front loops only. So again, if you look from the top, you can see the V's, and you want to go under the first loop instead of going through both. And for the brim, we are going to be doing a little bit of increasing. We're just going to be picking up where we left off when we increased the top of the hat. So for example, I did 8 rounds for the top of my hat, and this first round of the brim, I'm going to call it my 9th round of increasing, which means 9 minus 1, I'm going to increase in every 8th stitch. And you can see that going into the front loops only causes this part to pop out to start the brim. And just like we did before, every round after this will not be in the front loops only. It will just be under both loops since we do not need it to bend anymore. And I'm going to be alternating in rounds of increasing and just regular rounds, and then increasing and regular round. So this next round will be a regular round with no increases. And in the third round of the brim, I'm going to be doing another increase round, picking up where I left off with the 9th increase round. So this will be the 10th round of increases, which means 10 minus 1 increase in every 9th stitch. And I'm going to be repeating this pattern until I get the length of the brim that I want. And you want to end on an odd number for the brim because you want to end on an increased round so the bottom of the brim doesn't curve in. So I just did a total of 5 rounds for the brim just because it is the length of the brim that I want, and you can make it longer or shorter by adding more rows or less. Now we can fasten off by chaining 1 and cutting off a strand long enough for us to weave in. And then we'll use our hook to pull on that strand of yarn and pull it through and tighten the knot. And the last thing to do is weave in all of our loose ends. So first, we're going to turn the hat inside out, and we're going to be weaving in our ends into the inside of the hat so it's less visible. So we're going to start with the very top, and you want to tighten this as much as you can, and then grab your yarn needle and thread the yarn through the needle. And we're going to tie a knot just so it stays in place and the hole doesn't loosen. And to tie a knot, I'm just going to go under a piece of the yarn, wrap the rest of the tail end around it, and then pull my yarn needle through, and that should create a knot. And if you want to do it a second time to double knot it to really secure it, then go for it. And then we're going to try to go under as many stitches as we can in one direction. So since the stitches are in rounds, I'll just be going under the stitches in the second round. And once I've gone under a few of the stitches, I'm going to turn around, skip 1 stitch, and go under those same stitches once again. And so if anything tugs on this loose end, it'll have to go in 2 different directions and it'll be really secure. And we can also do this a few more times just to be really sure that it won't come loose. Once we're done, we can just cut off the rest of that loose end and move on to the other ones. And where I had to attach a second ball of yarn, I'm just going to double knot these 2 strands together. So before I start weaving in the loose ends, I want to be sure that they're knotted and they won't be coming loose. And then I'll thread it through my needle and do the same exact thing where I go under a few stitches in one direction and turn around and then go back under those same stitches. Once everything is weaved in, I can just cut off all of the extra pieces of yarn and we should be finished. So here is the bucket hat. That is all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did and subscribe if you're new. And remember to leave comments if you have any questions at all. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.